Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. My group members are Ruby, Vivian, and Zoe. Our topic is Introduction of Van Gogh. We divide our topic in 4 parts. The first part, I will introduce the biographical introduction of Van Gogh. The second part, Zoe will introduce the artistic works of Van Gogh. The third part, Ruby will talk about post-impressionism. And finally, Vivian will talk about the influence of Van Gogh. So let's move on to the first part, biographical introduction. Vincent van Gogh, one of the most well-known post-impressionist artists, was born in Holland in 1853. The son of a pastor brought up in a religious and cultured atmosphere. Vincent was highly emotional, lacked self-confidence, and struggled with his identity and with direction. He believed that his true calling was to preach the gospel. However, it took years for him to discover his calling as an artist. The works of his early Dutch period are somber-toned, sharply lit. In 1886, he went to Paris and met Monet and Gauguin. Having met the new Impressionist painters, he tried to imitate their techniques and to paint in the short brush strokes of the Impressionist style. Van Gogh's nervous temperament made him a difficult companion, and night-long discussions combined with painting all day undermined his health. Near the end of 1888, an incident led Gauguin to ultimately leave. Van Gogh pursued him with an open razor, was struck by Gauguin, but ended up cutting a portion of his own ear-lobe off. Van Gogh then began to alternate between fits of madness and lucidity, and was sent to the asylum for treatment. Lastly, he died from what is believed to have been a self-inflicted gunshot wound for the good of all. During his brief career, he did not experience much success. He sold only one painting, lived in poverty. Van Gogh's finest works were produced in less than 3 years. In spite of his lack of success during his lifetime, Van Gogh's legacy lives on having left a lasting impact on the world of art. Van Gogh is now viewed as one of the most influential artists, having helped lay the foundations of modern art. Next part, Zoe will talk about his artistic works.
His artistic career was extremely short, lasting only 10 years from 1880 to 1890, and it can be divided into 3 phases. The first one is when he lived in Netherlands. The second one is Paris phase, because he moved to Paris. His understanding of the possibilities of painting was evolving rapidly at this phase. The last one is his heyday when he became a post-impressionist painter. Next, we will introduce his one masterpiece at each phase. Let's talk about the first phase. During the first 4 years of this period, he confined himself almost entirely to drawings and watercolors while acquiring technical proficiency. I am going to introduce the potato eaters. Van Gogh said he wanted to depict peasants as they really were. He deliberately chose coarse and ugly models, thinking that they would be natural and unspoiled in his finished work. Van Gogh once considered the potato eaters his most successful painting. He said that, "What I think about my own work is that the painting of the peasants eating potatoes that I did in New Orleans is after all the best thing I did." However, this work was criticized by his friend. This was a blow to Van Gogh's confidence as an emerging artist, and he wrote back to his friends, "You had no right to condemn my work in the way you did, and I am always doing what I cannot do yet in order to learn how to do it." Then, after he moved to Paris, he was exposed to Impressionist, Symbolist, Pointillist, and Japanese art in Paris. As a result, his second phase started. He learned to portray the fierceness of the visual impression and know that color can express something by itself. The pen I'm going to show is Portrait of Pertanguy. The brightly colored painting and confident subject represent the shift in Vincent's attitude. Van Gogh called his use of the bright colors gymnastic that create great depth, harmony, and balance in his work through experimentation. The painting contains a background of Van Gogh's Japanese prints that were sold at Tanguay's shop. On top of Tanguay's head is Mount Fuji. Kabuki actors shows the wall with cherry trees in bloom. Next, Ruby will introduce what he had done in the third period.
Hi, I am Ruby, and in my part, I will cover Post-Impressionism. Post-Impressionism is a predominantly French art movement that developed roughly between 1886 and 1905, from the last Impressionist exhibition to the birth of Fauvism. Post-Impressionists extended Impressionism while rejecting its limitation. They continue using vivid colors, often think application of paint, and real-life subject matter, but were more inclined to emphasize geometric form, distort form for expressive effect, and use unnatural or arbitrary color. Now I'm going to introduce Van Gogh's work in Post-Impressionism. The Starry Night is considered Van Gogh's greatest artistic achievement, and it is one of the most famous and reproduced images in the art world. Van Gogh created Starry Night in 1889, just 13 months before his death. At this time, he was staying in the asylum at Saint-Rémy in France, and his behavior was particularly erratic due to his severe attacks. It depicts the view from the east-facing window of his asylum room, just before sunrise, with the addition of an imaginary village. Van Gogh's night sky is brimming with energy, and it contrasts with the silent village below. The town he depicts in Starry Night is somewhat invented, and the church spire brings to mind his homeland, the Netherlands. It includes a cypress tree in the left foreground, which is usually found in cemeteries and associated with mourning. This tree serves to connect earth and sky, and this could reflect the artist's own thought about death. It is a destination of life's journey. Therefore, Starry Night appears to represent Van Gogh's ongoing concern with death and the afterlife. And he said, "Looking at the stars always makes me dream. Why, I asked myself, shouldn't the shining dots of the sky be as accessible as the black dots on the map of France? Just as we take the train to Tarascon or Rouen, we take that to reach a star." With its unique style, the Starry Night is a much-loved painting that has been the focus of poetry, fiction, and music, including the famous song Vincent or Starry Starry Night by Don McLean. The canvas can today be found in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. In fact, some contemporary artists have even reproduced the iconic piece using original materials. Also, Van Gogh did impact the world, so let's welcome Vivian to introduce the last part.
And next, I'm going to talk about Van Gogh's impact to the modern society. First, I'm going to introduce the influence he brings to us. Vincent van Gogh lived more than 150 years ago, and yet his artwork is still altering the way mankind views beauty, persona, individuality, and style in art. His thousands of paintings and drawings have various characteristics. They have been copied by thousands and duplicated by none. Van Gogh's unique life has inspired millions to become active in art. In fact, what many people today consider to be the archetypical artist persona is largely a result of his influence. Perhaps the most impressive aspect is that artists continue to mimic the style that Van Gogh created over 100 years ago. The Impressionists and Post-Impressionists of Vincent's time influenced him greatly after he moved to Paris in 1886. The bright new palette ran heavily over Gauguin's previous dark, multicolored skin. Van Gogh's use of this new Impressionist and Post-Impressionist style altered not only his work but also all of art history. One particular artist is leading the contemporary Impressionists in an effort to become America's Vincent van Gogh is Stefan Duncan. Duncan's amazing work is a plethora of brilliant colors tossed about in a whimsical style he called Squeezelian. Having been greatly influenced by Vincent van Gogh, Stefan utilized this updated technique to draw the quick stroke of the Impressionists into long, curvy lines. These tight eddies of color dance around his painting, lightening every feature with beauty. It is this very beauty that Stefan strives to capture in all of his work, revealing the divine in nature. And as you can see, the picture on the left-hand side is Van Gogh's, and the picture on the right-hand side is Stefan Duncan's. You can see no matter on the painting skill or the color use, they are almost the same. Van Gogh is today regarded as one of the most popular post-impressionist painters. Van Gogh's definite brushwork and counterforms have massively influenced Impressionism, Fauvism, and early abstractions, as well as various other aspects of 20th century art. Van Gogh's personal life and more specifically his mental illness has tended to overshadow modern perception of his art. However, whatever you believe, Van Gogh is regarded as one of history's greatest painters and a vital contributor to the foundation of modern art. Thanks for your listening.